Got a super chat from Adapt or Die. Mr. Locario says, if you pay for a woman's Uber to your place, you're tricking. If you had a game, she'd buy her own Uber to your place. Agree or disagree?
I just want to shout out to Locario. It's a good friend of mine.
What was the question again? Should you not pay for her Uber or you should?
He basically says, if you're paying for her Uber to your place, you're tricking. So basically, you're
Interesting.
I don't know how to, how to specify that.
I mean, it just depends. I think it depends on the logistics. Like if she just legitimately doesn't have a car, then I could see that being the case. One thing I will say is it's not tricking when you pay to get her to leave your place. And what I recommend to guys do, if you're on a date with a girl and it's just not going the way you want, I end it quickly. I yawn and I say, I got to
Mhm.
get up for work in the morning. Let me call you an Uber. When you're spending money to get a girl to leave, I think it sends a very different message often. And I've had situations where I've done that before. And then the next time I hang out with the girl, she was way more receptive because, again, I was able to establish boundaries. It's not that women need a guy to be an asshole. She just needs a man that she cannot manipulate. That's it. And so when you have that, I think that's probably works the best. But I don't think getting an Uber for a girl, especially here, it's not that expensive. I don't think that is a function of being a simp or tricking off.
You get
I mean,
some
I think it's
examples from that for when you sent her home.
Yeah, yeah. So there's one girl that I'm seeing now. I'm still seeing her, just gorgeous, like a Chinese girl, and she's half, and she's we went on a date one time, hung out, and at the end of the date, it was just like very clear. I was like, okay, do you want to she came up to my hotel room. We're like making out. It was very clear it wasn't going any further. So I just yawned. I was like, hey, let me call you an Uber home, and I did. She goes home, and then the time I see her, it was just like immediately it was on because from her standpoint it was just like that's the other thing is if you're a dude and you're having these long phone conversations with women, one of the things you're projecting is, hey, I can get attention from this guy and I don't have to give him sex. And she saw it's almost like classical conditioning. She gets used to that. For me, it's like I don't. It's not that I need this for this. It's not like this in exchange for sex. It's not like that. What I do need though is if I want to have sex, we're going to have sex, and if you don't want to do that, that's fine. But there's almost like there's a limit to how much I'm going to participate in your life, and you need to understand that because the majority of men that she deals with don't do that. There's just like they basically give her the farm just because she's pretty, and so I think it's really important that you make a woman earn your intent. You make a woman earn your attraction, and you don't just give it away to her because she has blue eyes. And that's what's worked fantastically for me is that girls expect me. There's no girl you'll ever talk to that said I'll ever hit on them. I don't have to hit on them. I basically just create these events and then invite them back to my place, and they come back, and then next thing you know, one thing leads to another because I get steady compliance on the way there. I don't have to show any intent at all. And that's what I've taught I'm at 3,500 clients now. And the other part is when I teach guys cold approach, which I do. I have 8 cold approach boot camps that I do every year here in Las Vegas. When I teach them cold approach, it's cold approach to build a social circle, and it's cold approach with what are called invite openers, and then there's also we're offering value. When you do that, you're not doing it to show intent, and because you're not able to do that, you're able to collect people for your social circle, and then from there it becomes very easy. Again, it goes back to what I said before about logistics and ratio. That is the ultimate secret. You can be the biggest weirdo in the world, but if there's 7 girls for every guy, then it works out.
It makes a lot of sense. I thought about it before in terms of, especially in terms of messaging, um, setting a pattern. You're setting a pattern if you're messaging her too much without going for the meet. And you're setting the pattern of basically you're just pen pals. The pattern is that you're not meeting. So essentially the message I'm taking out of
Yeah.
the first part of what you're saying is
Yes.
if you're setting the precedent and the pattern that you're not going further, then it's not going to go further because
So yeah,
you're just not
the
taking it that far.
yeah, the precedent is she gets validation and attention in exchange for nothing. That's the precedent that you're setting with her. And for me, it's like it's not specifically sex, but I need to know you're genuinely attracted to me and that you respect me. And part of showing me that is we have sex. And so if we're going long periods of time, and like my ex would do this, she would call me like from Houston, and then she'd be on the phone for like 3 hours. I'm like, we need to stop. Like when you get here, we can talk for a while, but I don't have 4 hours to spare right now. I've got to work. And so that's something you have to do is have them understand that they need to respect your time. And you'll notice they're, even though they may complain about it, they're just far more attracted when you can maintain boundaries.
Sure. And I would
100%.
take that
I
as
have a wife and I gotta kick her out the office all the time. No, no
Yep.
way.
I,
And then
I,
she comes back all lovey-dovey.
I would take that even a step further with one of those boundaries that you're talking about, Michael. And one of them that gets created is when a man can curtail his lust, right? Because it doesn't matter. Like if a guy has all the best game in the world, or even the best social circle or what have you, if that lust is on the forefront, right, you're automatically playing on her chessboard. So it doesn't matter what you've got going on. You basically already lost before you've begun. So I think one of the strongest boundaries then is to learn to harness control over that lust, because that's basically a woman's strongest card that she can play, right? So once you take that away, it's like, plus you have all of your other boundaries and standards and requirements and things that you're looking for. Now there's really nothing left but those boundaries, and looking for the compliance and things that Mike was talking about. Then it's like whatever happens, it comes down to what you want to happen, right? Like whatever happens, you're the person who says it does or it doesn't, because there's really no more leverage on her part anymore.
I'm gonna circle back to the original question about getting an Uber, um, and play devil's advocate because I live in Los Angeles and it's a highly flaky city, and people geographically in, say, Santa Monica will not date people in downtown LA, right? Just because of how spread out it is. So getting an Uber for me is not that big of a deal. Now, I'm not gonna order $100 like Uber Lux for some mid-looking girl. But for example, I had an Uber for this, blonde model that she'd been in the Super Bowl commercial, and it was only like 20 bucks, right? It controls for logistics because here, like LA girls, they have like so many options. Not just your standard, oh, he's good looking, he's rich, but you got to deal with geography, you got to deal with fame. So not only is it you're able to reduce the flake rate and control for logistics, like she's going to show up, on time. But also I seed it with what I will eventually go with, like the pull back to my place, because I'll send her like a picture of my dog, say, hey, lady says that, friends don't let friends drink and drive. Would you like me to order you an Uber? Right. And then later on, I'll just bring it up. It's like, hey, would you like to meet the cutest dog in the world? Like we live right there. So, I find it's easy to control for logistics. I'd only do it for someone that's actually like really attractive. And obviously, it's going to be dependent upon your city and how much you're willing to spend. But getting an Uber, I don't consider that big of a problem, unless you're like really overextending yourself for some girl because she's average or below average looking, and is doing it out of desperation.
So I'm in Lima, Peru, and Uber is super cheap here. If I don't go out every single day, but let's say most days that I go out, I'm always using Uber. I never use the bus because I hate Peruvian, but I just hate buses in general. But Peruvian buses, goddamn, hell no. It's so cheap here, and some gringos would consider using or paying for a woman's Uber. I still wouldn't consider paying for a woman's Uber, even in a place like Lima where it's so cheap. Like just to give an example, depending on the place I'm going, it's probably going to cost me $5 or less. That's how cheap it is. Like normally it's less than $5. It's crazy. So,
And that's for like a long ride too. Like for $5, you'll get a lot of wheel time. Yeah.
yeah, well, it depends on the time because, traffic here is crazy. So the price can spike up and stuff like that. But if I was dating a bunch of Peruvian women in the city, like all over the city, uh, I still wouldn't pay for their Uber because they can just pay for a bus like every other Peruvian person. It's like, how do they get around normally? Most of these women aren't necessarily, well, taxis are very popular in Lima. It's like I would never take a taxi in New York. I would always use the fucking subway. I don't know how it is in Los Angeles, but traffic I imagine is worse than it is in Lima, and Lima is bad. And there's hardly a subway in Los Angeles anyway, compared to New York and London. But still, I wouldn't pay for a woman to travel because, like, how does she get around normally?
Right.
It's not like I don't know. I'm kind of going off course a little, but yeah, just quickly, JT, are you the only one who would consider it? Justin, would you? Yes or no?
No, no, because I'm in the same mindset. Granted, I'm in New York City, so you can basically
I,
get
I,
anywhere you want without,
hmm.
needing a car. Just like millions of New Yorkers do, they don't have cars. And there's a lot of options, right? I mean, there used to be Revel, which was great here. That was fantastic. And then they canned the project, where there was those scooters, electric scooters. You just grab one of those, hop on, go where you need to go, and leave it where your destination is. I think that getting a car is really only for your woman. That's it. Like if she's not your woman, then you're paying for a woman. And it's like, to your point, Ice, like she's been getting around just fine before she met you. So why is your presence making things different?
100%. Yeah. How about you, Michael? Because when I came to Vegas, I was kind of freaked out by not freaked out. I'm just not used to these cities like Las Vegas being so reliant on cars. When I was there, I was like, fuck, I'm just so used to walking around in cities like Tokyo, London, and my own city in Canada. It's just very, very, very car reliant. And I was like, there's nobody on the fucking sidewalks apart from the Strip and Fremont Street. It's just like a ghost
Yeah.
town. It's all cars.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's all cars here. I mean, I have a car here at my high rise, and I pick girls up and my friends, and there's no traffic here either during the week. So, yeah, it's a very car heavy city. Whereas, like, and there's no traffic. It's not like when I used to live in Austin, and that was the worst because the traffic there is just miserable, and everyone had a car. The thing about Los Angeles is that, they're big enough to where they could have public transportation, but nobody uses it. There's nowhere to park. Chicago's kind of the same way. Nobody even tries to do it in New York. In New York, there are cars, but it's usually Ubers or taxis. But yeah, the logistical thing is everything. It's one of the reasons why it's really funny. I lived in LA for 2 years, and I remember there was this point where I realized that I had never dated a girl in LA while I was in LA. Several girls would come from Vegas to see me in LA, but when I lived in Vegas, I would date girls from LA all the time because when I'm in Vegas and they're here, the logistics are all set for me. But when I'm in LA and they're in Santa Monica and I'm in West Hollywood, I'm fucked. I'm completely fucked. That's why, like, I can't. Los Angeles has some of the worst logistics I've ever seen. I remember I was going to make a video at Runyon Canyon with Kindly Myers. This is a huge Playboy model. She was going to come to Runyon Canyon, and we were going to do it. And she was in Santa Monica, and it was an hour and 53 minutes from Santa Monica to Runyon Canyon. Just madness, madness living in a place like that. So I think having really good logistics and living in a city where there's like less traffic, like again, less traffic, Vegas. More beautiful women per capita, Vegas. No state income tax, Vegas. No humidity, Vegas. Insane pool parties, Vegas. $100,000 bikini competitions, Vegas. 8,000, 10,000 girls trying out for the nightlife jobs and the pool jobs, and all of them have outrageous bodies. Vegas. That's why this is better, is just because the logistics are here. And then I can look right here and I can see the Aria like right outside my window. Like just being that close is what makes it so incredibly good. So I'll tell you, you could have a really bad game and have really good logistics. Like you happen to be like, just say a videographer who works at the Playboy Mansion, which I was a videographer at the Playboy Mansion back in like 2015. And you're just gonna meet women just because there's just so many women around.
100%. I don't have time to coordinate her movements. Like as simple as that. Like I couldn't possibly spare the time to like plan her Uber. I know it only takes like 20 seconds maybe, but I don't have time for that shit. I got plenty of fucking things going on. So she can make her own way.